Okay.
Welcome to Keeping It Kissel.
Oh, is that the thing now?
I don't know. I think so. I like it. All the big ones, all the big things like
It's cute. I can get behind
always Tim Hortons, right?
Oh,
Like, you know, it's a thing.
Okay. Like a tagline.
Yeah. So,
But an intro tagline.
yeah. So welcome to Keeping It Kissel. Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode for us. And what's really exciting is we are going to be talking about my new album. Yeah. Do you mind, Becky? Thanks for... Really appreciate it. So, Cece and I are really, really excited to talk about my new record, but I've been saying it on Instagram. I've been saying it all over the place. It's our new record because
we're very we all inclusive.
Yes. It's always interesting. Remember when,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Yeah. I said in an interview once, we're pregnant.
Yeah.
And the female co-host is like, what do you mean we're pregnant?
Yeah.
You ain't pregnant. Your wife is pregnant.
And I listened to that interview and I was like, hold on a minute.
And I felt like it's something that we're enjoying together. Yeah, I'm not growing a baby in my belly, but we are going through this experience together the best way that we can.
And speaking on behalf of your wife, I felt that was totally appropriate. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure there are couples out there that the spouse doesn't give as much and isn't as involved.
Well, I'm happy with what I've given and how I've supported you in the process of pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I can only go to a maximum 1 out of 10. Like so I get that
it's an individual journey as a couple. Like if you prefer to be solo pregnant on your journey, but for me it was very it was exciting for both of us. It was work for both of us. You served me the entire time I was pregnant. I may have been carrying the baby, but you were rubbing my feet and my back. I may have been carrying the baby, but you were running out at 3 a.m. getting me blank
ice cream. Marble slab. If Marble Slab was open 24/7, for 9 months we would have kept them in business over the course of the late night hours. That said, bringing it all back around, we have a new album. It's called Now or Never. And in interviews, I've talked about how the name came to be. But what's exciting about this is that this is the only place where you're going to hear, I think, some of the real stories behind the songs. Not that what I give to other interviews is not real. So don't get me wrong. But
more sides to it. And
a real genuine look in it. Sorry,
I've had the pleasure. No, it's okay. I had the pleasure of listening to Brett do a lot of his interviews over time. But this one I've just been so excited about because I've been more involved this year on this project, and we've just been connected in a different way.
So explain to everybody your involvement and what you feel you brought to the creative process and to getting this package out there.
I mean, I think it's been the same as always, but this music is just, there's nothing like it. And you've put so much into it. You watch someone you love give their heart and soul, but then when it's like cranked up a notch, the production, the music itself, the writing is elevated. Everything is, it's all cranked up. So I'm super excited.
I'm excited for everybody to spend some time getting to know these songs and this album and everything that we put into it, because every song tells us a different story, obviously. Yeah. But my goal was to have every song on the record have a life. Yeah. Because I think it's been a waste. You brought this up over the last number of albums. Started with a song, Pick Me Up. We were that song. That there were so many great tracks that never saw the light of day, that were just on either Apple Music or Spotify, but we gave no attention to it. Right. Where every song on this record, even if it doesn't go to the radio, is still going to have life.
Well, every song was hand selected, of course, but then we are doing our best to live a life with intention.
Right.
And that includes every song. Every song has a personal connection to us, and we feel really strongly about. So to go back to what I was saying about listening to you on interviews, getting to hear you talk about the songs. And and so what I
of you and
found
me.
when I was listening to you or watching you do your interviews is I had so much to say,
Yeah.
but I couldn't say it.
True.
Because you're just you and the interview was for you, but I'm just like really excited about the music.
Well, I told everybody that you named this album. You're
telling everyone that.
Well, yeah, because you did.
Well, I know that, but you don't always give me credit.
Just throws me under the bus.
Brett, Gadoosh.
Yeah.
No, it actually doesn't bother me. It's funny. It's just something that, I don't think has bothered me, but I'm flattered.
So paint the scene for everybody and what was going through your head when we were driving and you said, that's got to be the title of your record.
There's something Brett and I have always done or made the time to do when we are on the verge of a new album, especially when it's all like coming to an end and it's finishing up.
Yeah, we're listening to the final mixes and stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where we are in the world, but I can remember, I think each time where we were. Don't test me on that, but we go for a drive and we put on the album.
Do you remember the Started with a Song album?
You were going to ask that. No.
Started with a song. We were driving to BC. We were driving to Nanaimo.
Yes.
Pick Me Up. Do you remember where we were? Pick Me Up album.
Why are you doing this to me?
We were in San Francisco. And remember we were listening to it when we went out to...
And I was so sick.
Sick, because you're so pregnant.
And we hadn't announced yet.
Right.
But we went on just like this exciting little trip.
And I have no idea what beach we went to go find and discover, but we crossed the Golden Gate Bridge away from San Francisco.
Stetson Beach.
And what?
Look at me. I actually remembered something.
How in the F did you remember that?
I don't know.
And I remember eating oysters.
Yeah, that I couldn't eat.
That you couldn't eat.
Cruel.
And you were mad at me, and I never ate oysters in front of you while you were pregnant again.
Cruel,
but I always ate them behind your back.
Yeah. Well, I thought I could take it, and I just couldn't.
Oysters, that's one
favorite.
of our...
Yeah.
It's not even a guilty pleasure. It's just pleasure. It's just,
pure pleasure.
Pure pleasure.
Pure pressure. Pure pressure.
Holy shit. Pure pleasure. Okay. So we're driving down to Florida and listening to the Now or
you have to back
Never
up
record.
though, because when we were in San Francisco, I had morning sickness, but we were on those crazy windy roads.
Yes.
And we were going to Yosemite Park.
Yeah, Sequoia National Park.
Sequoia National Park. And we didn't make it because we had to pull over, and I puked so many times that we had to turn the car around and go back, because we knew if we had gone that windy that far, it would be the same.
We wanted to go see that massive tree, General Sherman.
Right.
Which you told me was just outside of San Francisco. So I rented a car so that we could go just outside of San Francisco.
It seemed that way when I was 18.
It's 3 hours to Sequoia National Park, and then it's 3 hours into the park
to
go
saw
see this
that
big ass tree.
River rock, like in the middle.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Nowhere.
And Charlie had a good time.
We almost lost him.
Yes, Charlie. Well, because we were in a winding
really
river,
fast river.
Yeah, that's right. We almost.
And he just
Charlie almost
jumped
died
in the
almost.
water after you, and you had to go swimming after him. And his chest is so heavy.
I know.
And we didn't bring his.
And his short little legs. He could barely swim.
Yeah, poor baby.
So, and I also remember stopping at a Walmart because it was so hot that you didn't bring shorts. So we bought these maternity shorts.
Oh, my stomach was so
funny.
Sensitive.
Yeah,
it was really hot. Yeah.
So that was the Pick Me Up album. We were that song. We listened to all the mixes in Hawaii on our baby moon. I remember for Leo.
Yes.
And then no. Where were
we? Did you actually forget?
Anyways, yeah, it would have been because Leo was born.
No, we listened to it in Hawaii.
We did listen to it in Hawaii. Yeah. That's right. So listen to it in Hawaii with the girls.
Yeah.
The We Were That Song record. So this album, Now or Never, we always take the time to go on a vacay or a road trip or something meaningful where we can listen to
I feel like it almost just happens
album.
that way. Not that we're doing that with intention. We listen with intention.
Correct.
But where we are, we just happen to be.
So we're on our way to Florida.
When we get the mixes.
That's right. And now tell everybody the real story.
So we drive to Florida as often as we can. As often as we can sneak away, and that Brett has time, and that it's warm, and that we have time, we go.
Go to the beach.
So we went. Kids are in bed. My sister, or no, might have even been Auntie Brenda and Uncle Lloyd stayed with them. Was it that time or the time before? Anyways.
No, I remember. No, we were driving down as a family. Stella's in the back.
No, I know,
Stella
but I'm
and
talking
Mila.
about when we listened to the album. We listened to it alone.
Yes,
We were
Stella.
driving
That
to
was on the
that
first
small
time we were
town.
there, and Stella was looking after the kids.
Okay.
And we went for that dinner.
Yeah,
Remember?
so
and
we're really fortunate to have my sister come with us on a lot of most of these trips. And so once we get the kids down for bed, we can have her stay home with them. So it gives us some date nights, gives us
That's right.
some work nights, business dinners, functions, events.
Mom and daddy time. Woot, woot.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. And so we went for a drive to a tiny town that we also didn't make it to.
Navarre Beach.
Yeah, it was too far. But we started driving and we started listening to the album.
The song Young Enough comes on, and that was one of the first songs we got a final mix for, because
What did you want to name the album? I know. Do you remember?
well, I know what I wanted to name the last one.
And I think it was the same for this one.
Country Music ADD.
No. Oh, that was in the ring.
That was on the last one, but it's like Steve Kane, our president, brought up a good point from Warner Music. Said some people who suffer from ADD or ADHD, it's a real issue, obviously, and it would be
Yes.
offensive to some people. I'm letting you know that
Yes,
even
but
though
someone did just name their album something ADD. I'll have to look into
oh my
that.
God, did somebody do that? Can we research that?
Oh, I saw it.
Because if someone did that, that makes me mad because I loved it because the last album was so
I'm
diverse.
certain.
There was a little bit of everything on it. Anyway, what was I going to call it? This album.
Like something
Bridging the Gap.
bridging the gap. And that's what you wanted to call the album before the last album.
Yeah. Bridging the
But-
Gap would have been, because we're bridging the gap between traditional country music and all of the new country music that you hear on radio and, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon, wherever you get your music.
Did you find one?
Did you find it?
Okay, still available.
Still available. Maybe the
Maybe I
next
had a
record is
dream
Country
about it.
Music ADD, because it's
Which
like,
I think makes sense. It's a little bit of everything. And, you are very much that. You're all over the place in
Yeah.
a wonderful way.
in a wonderful way.
In a wonderful way. But what I thought, which I love both of those titles, but what I thought about this album as far as Bridging the Gap, I thought this really isn't doing that.
Gotcha.
There's not enough classic country that meets new country. That's what I think of when I think of Bridging a Gap.
Yeah,
It's
gotcha.
like old meets new. And I didn't feel that way about this album. I thought it was very new. And even the one song, maybe two, that are like a little more traditional, they just are standalone songs on their own.
Yeah.
So anyways, we started listening to the music.
Yeah. Young Enough was the first mix I got back from Bart McKay.
Yeah.
Long-time
obsessed.
producer.
This is Leo's favorite song.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that would calm him down. Like,
And here's an interesting thing is that every single one of our kids, and I think this would be actually a great quote for the website, Becky and Ethan, is that every one of our kids had a song during that era or during the album in which they were just little babies
Yeah.
when the album came out that
Yeah.
would calm them down.
Yeah.
So Mila's, I remember, was Airwaves.
Yeah.
Aria was We Were That Song.
100%.
And Leo's is Young Enough.
yeah. And to the point where like they could be screaming their faces off and you play that song, you put it
Yeah.
by them and it was immediate.
Can you
Immediate.
Can you
It
pass
was
me my phone?
Unbelievable.
Because it would literally be, it's just right there on the floor. Thanks, Ethan. When Aria, I remember her crying, especially on road trips, because none of our kids liked the car seat. They never liked road trips. So we would play.
Well, I don't think we spent
music.
enough time in them for them to really get attached to a car seat. Like, we spent way more time in airplanes and walking.
Yeah. So Aria would be crying, and then this would come on. And she would literally
It was instant.
stop crying and go to bed.
Actually, we have videos, and I'll have to see if I can pull them up.
And then
But
it
I have
stops and
videos
she
of
cries
her
again.
sitting in her car seat, in her high chair, pardon
Yeah.
me. And she would be happy, and she would hear that song, and her whole body would just start like going.
So for Leo, he would be crying in the car seat, and then the girls would say, "Mom, Dad, play
Leo's song."
And this would come on, and Leo would stop
immediately. Yeah. And it has gotten to the point where if it was happening, Mila will sing it for him now.
Yeah.
So if we're out walking, and
oh
she
my
did
gosh,
that
you
with
guys,
Arya
that is the
too.
most
She did
precious
that for Arya
thing in
too.
the world. When one of your little kids takes care of the other little kid, like that mothering instinct that the girls have for Leo.
I'll say nurturing, because boys do that as well. It's just the love, care, and attention that goes into, and some humans and children are just more nurturing than others, and it is beautiful to watch.
So for the last 25 minutes, we've been talking about how we named the record, Cece.
Yes.
You hear Young Enough, and then what came over you in that moment? Because I've never seen you that inspired, that sure, and it inspired me.
No,
when
it just
when you
like
felt.
dropped in, and we were listening to the song, and so say the lyric.
So all I know is that it's now or never, and
it felt
in Young Enough, yeah.
It felt, it just felt like the universe was saying, this is what it needs to be.
And it's crazy because I looked at you and I said, yes, Now or Never needs to be the title of this record.
Yeah, and I just sat there and I thought, now or never, Brett, this is now or never. We have given everything and I'm going to get emotional. We've given everything we have to this.
Yeah.
And we believe in this music enough to put every song on this album. It's now or never.
I agree. And the universe spoke to us in the most incredible way after we said that Now or Never is exactly what this album needs to be. I would say at least 4 or 5 times on that trip, I flipped through, I'm in Pensacola Beach, Florida. Why I picked up a newspaper at the breakfast place.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's like the mayor of Pensacola Beach says, it's now or never. Yeah. And that was the quote on the front page.
Yeah. And do you remember when we were in Toronto and we're driving and there's graffiti all over? And
on our way to do photos
for the album. Yeah, that's true.
The most beautiful graffiti on the wall. Like it was an art.
We're driving to the studio and it was beautiful. And I bet you if you go back and try to find it, we would never find it. And on the side of a building, it was painted beautifully in the most beautiful graffiti art. And it said in the biggest letters, Now or Never.
So if that's not the universe telling us this is exactly what we need to do and exactly what we need to be doing.
Confirmation.
And, like, I cannot believe that actually happened. And now every time I see it, it's in a zone or a headspace that I'm in where I actually need to see that, where I'm feeling discouraged about the record. I'm feeling discouraged that maybe.
Well, because you
so freaking invested into this thing.
You get down on yourself. I mean, it's like, I think with anything, when you start to give pieces of yourself, you're so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that it can be received different ways.
So this is also for YouTube as it is obviously for podcasts. So if you're listening to this and you haven't seen us online, obviously please follow us on our Instagram pages, Cecilia Kissel, Brett Kissel, and Keeping It Kissel. We're talking about our album, Now or Never, right now. And we also film this and post it to our YouTube channel so that you can watch this. So
you can watch us in action.
Can you hand me one of the albums? My jacket is way too tight. It makes me look skinny, but if I like reach, it's going to be like... So I'm going to get into a little bit some of the really cool things about
the details?
The artwork.
Yeah.
So Connor Scheffler worked with us on this record, and he came to...
He got your vision right away.
Immediately. And Cece and I, now that
connection.
we're actually working so much harder than we've ever worked, but it's a lot smarter because we've got 3 kids and we're balancing
it's the goal.
A career, Keeping It Kissel, the lifestyle brand, all of this shit, really. And so when Connor came to all of this stuff, all of this incredible stuff, when Connor came to the photo session with Jess, who was taking photos for us.
Yeah, I loved that process, by the way.
I want you to be here, so if you see the photo, I don't want to look through 1,000 frickin' photos and try to figure out what it's going to be. I want to look at the camera and be like, that's the shot, and I want it to look this way. So we edited as we went, which was amazing, and we found this shot right here.
I thought you guys worked.
Is that? Can you see this on the camera?
I thought you guys all worked really well together. Does it need to be out of?
So of course this is like a bit of a fake smile and shit, but I really like it.
I don't know. I think I said something really funny to you.
Yeah, you probably did. So this jacket, what's cool about it is Murphy, who's our really good friend and our stylist in Toronto. She said that this was her dad's jacket from the 70s.
That's so wild.
And so it's kind of an ode to him as well.
Well, and he loved country music, didn't
I
he?
love that it shows my 3 tattoos for my kids, which epic fail on the We Were That Song album. I already had 2 kids, but I did the photo shoot before I got the tattoo for Aria.
I think she'll forgive you.
I hope she does. So on the inside, the back of the record, Now or Never, that's my handwriting. Here, Brett Kissel. There's only 8 songs, but Dynamite comes in small packages, and I'm really proud of these 8 tracks. We wanted less content, but more meaningful content, so that way every New Year's Day for the next 3 years, I'm going to put out a new record.
Yeah.
And then Aria and Mila, their favorite colors are green and yellow.
Yeah.
So I wanted green and yellow on here, and we love the beach.
And we do. And this reminds me so much of Tinkerbell. I say that every time, and the girls love Tinkerbell.
So you open it up, and it reads, "For my children, Mila, Aria, and Leo." So I dedicated this record to. And then on the inside, on the artwork, inside page, there's a little wiener dog.
Of course there is. Can't forget Charlie. The artwork on this album, just like, it actually kills me. Like, I am obsessed with it. I think you were, oh yeah, of course. Are you going to say that, or are you going to let people just like go buy the album?
You have to buy the physical record because I have one of my favorite quotes of all time on the inside. And then tell us what
quote you see, because this is like one of Brett's favorite things about...
from my favorite TV show.
No, but about your actual...
Oh yeah, I'm literally going to, like anybody who picks up the record and I sign it for them in the merch line or whatever on our tours, I'm going to open it up and be like, make sure you look at page number 1.
Oh my goodness.
So our thank yous are great, but the artwork, I'm really happy with how it all came to be. So Drink About Me, A Few Good Stories. I have in the background a letter that we got from Johnny Cash. And so that's there. A lot of my favorite stories actually are told around the fire. So we've got fire in the background. Yeah. I was so excited to explain this to Cecilia when we got the artwork back. I've never been more proud. That's Country Music has actually the barn on our cattle ranch and my grandpa's 1970 Chevy there.
Yes.
Which is really cool. A photo of Connor, my banjo player and guitar player playing banjo from the Drink Cuss Fish photo shoot.
Where?
Up at the top here.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. And then Young Enough.
Young Enough. And in the background is a photo of me on stage at the Big Valley Jamboree. We're the only artists to ever get an encore in the history of the Big Valley Jamboree in that time slot.
Holy crap.
So
that was an incredible show. So glad I was there for that.
I'm so thankful that you weren't going to come.
I really wasn't.
And
I don't
you did
remember
show up.
why. We found a sitter. That's why.
It's time to risk it all. It's time to elevate the game. It's make or break. It's do or die. It's now or never. Next page, She Drives Me Crazy, which is super colorful. If you haven't heard that song, that is so pop, EDM, dance leaning for country music. It's wild. But that brings me back to Vegas.
Yeah.
You and me in Vegas for our first time.
Oh, it's such a good time.
Song, Hummingbird.
Yeah.
Really love how that artwork turned out. I love Hummingbird. So do my grandparents. I'm Not Him, I'm Not Her, featuring Christina Taylor. You've not met Christina yet, have you?
I don't think so. Love the song.
But anyway, a really, really great duet partner. And then a photo of Cece and I from Lake Louise. We took that on our camera. Coffee with Her, that was like your Power of Veto. That was the song that you needed to go on the record. That one and Young Enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. You guys will have to let me know what you think. But I was shocked when those 2 songs weren't like at the top of the list. And so something that you get to do as a spouse. And I shouldn't say as a spouse, because maybe not every artist is like this. However,
we're going to get in the way of so many.
I know. Sorry if I'm causing any problems out there.
Relationships, all of our buddies in country music whose wives don't have a say.
But what works in our relationship, has worked for us, is no matter what, CC gets a veto.
Yeah.
So if nobody believes in the song, but I believe in the song, this time I got 2, but at minimum I get 1 song.
And the good news is that, I mean, it's all my music.
Yeah,
so I love everything.
Yeah, but I think sometimes when you are the artist and you're so attached to the music, it's hard to detach. And if your goal is to grow your music empire, then you just want the best. It's not about being personal or biased. It's about, I just want the best.
And you've never used this power of veto in this way, but I believe if there was ever a song that you just didn't like, it wouldn't go on the record. But you've got that power of veto too. Hold it.
Do I say it's happened before? And it's like...
Yeah, for what song?
Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
But I trust you too. So if there's songs that you are passionate about and that maybe aren't my favorite, I've noticed often that those are the songs you perform the most passionately and connect with your audience when you're performing them live.
Well, look at A Few Good Stories. When you heard the demo, you weren't convinced.
That's a big one for me,
but it wasn't until I did it with Jacob.
Let's explain that for a minute. So often when songs are being pitched to Brett, and what does a pitch song mean? There's a songwriter who wrote a song and they want it out there.
That's right.
And so they pitch them to
the artist.
Or
the artist's team.
Yeah. And then it gets back to the artist. And so you hear it with the songwriter's vocals on it, or how they
or a hired singer.
And how they would put it together. My struggle when it comes to demos is that I struggle with what it would be like if it was Brett on it.
Right.
So then it's like...
And to me, when I'm hearing these demos for the first time, I know sometimes if I'm going to do the second verse in the first verse in the second verse,
you're
I'm going to adjust the chorus,
inspired.
I'm going to put a solo over here, and this is how I would say, they didn't go up on that last line of the chorus. I would definitely go up.
And what people might not know is that you have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want with it.
Yeah, and I've taken a page kind of out of George Strait and Garth Brooks's book. Now, George only started to write songs later on in his career. He wrote it at the very beginning, but at the end of his career, in the last few albums, he's written more. But of the 60 number ones in which George Strait has recorded, he has written none of them, or maybe just one of them. I ain't here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
So how do artists make money?
So, well, I mean, through touring and through performance and merchandise and stuff like that. But the songwriter gets the money from the royalties.
That's
so
right.
A Few Good Stories was pitched to me. And I remember hearing this because it's written by Rhett Akins. It's Thomas Rhett's dad. Rhett Akins has written huge hits for Luke Bryan, FGL, Blake Shelton. Ben Hayslip also wrote this song with Chris Stevens. So these guys have won Grammys, and I thought to myself, how in the world did Blake Shelton not record A Few Good Stories?
Right.
And why do I have access to it? So it's like a start the car. Like I phoned Rusty Gaston, who is the publisher, and I said, I need to record this song. Yeah. Please have it on hold.
And it's a great song. Did I hear through the grapevine that somebody tried to record it? Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah. Kenny Chesney recorded this.
Yes.
After I recorded it.
Yes.
But we're on Warner.
Yes.
And so because I recorded it first, I had to write a first refusal.
Yes.
So it was a very awkward conversation, I believe, from my management.
Team to team.
To say, yeah. And Kenny Chesney does not know who the F I am. So he's probably like, who is this punk
young buck from
Flat
the
Lake,
middle of
Alberta,
nowhere.
who is not letting me cut this song? But it wasn't really intentional. It's with no malice.
It was already done.
It's already done, and it's on the record.
Yeah, like
so I can't just
signed, sealed, delivered.
I need to
printed.
So sorry, Kenny. I'm honored that you love the song.
Yeah.
So it goes to show that.
Yeah. So we hope you all love the song too.
So A Few Good Stories. You heard that for the first time. It didn't really.
The demo. I heard the demo. Yeah, and it wasn't like It didn't wow me, but Brett knows this about me. I'm like, put your vocals over it and then let me hear it. And so
this time around, because a lot of my team is the
similar.
Same way.
Yeah.
From record label
it's
to
a
management.
common theme for sure.
Nobody really feels the same way I do about songs out of the gate.
Well, and in our defense and everyone else, the thing is that, like you said, when you hear a song, you hear the changes you would make. That's the magic sometimes. So it's like the details, the devil's in the details. So if we can't hear that, we can't experience that, it makes it a little more difficult to get behind a song.
Right.
So this time, what you were going to say is that you recorded it first.
I did. Before I pitched any of these songs to my team to make decisions on what we would cut,
You made your changes.
Phoned these songwriters and said, can you send me the music and I'll just, go to the studio and I'll pop my vocals on top of what you've got. Don't change the form.
Yeah.
And that way I pitched it. And I think I had a lot more
As a
success with the
personal demo.
songs in which I liked. And also in the demos that we made of the songs I wrote, I put my best foot forward vocally.
Yeah.
So that when people were hearing these songs in these demos, they almost sounded like hit records.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And people like demos today are not like a twangy little guitar solo anymore. They
That's
are
right.
fully produced, and people like everybody has Pro Tools, and it's like you get a finished song
For sure.
and it is incredible.
So Drink About Me, Cease, I want to know what you thought the first time that you heard it and what you've thought about it now that it's been on the radio and it's become such a recognizable song across Canada and now into the States.
I've always had this really cool feeling about it. And I don't know, maybe we'll see what happens, but I had this feeling that, like, what did I say to you? That people would be in a club and that it would become like a tagline. Like the song comes on and a guy goes up to a girl and he says, I drink about you. You know, like do you drink
Are those
about-
space pants? Because your body's out of this world.
Yeah.
Like one of those kinds of things?
Sure. I mean, yeah, totally. Like a pickup line,
Never thought about it that way, but I do like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a
I
really...
picture it like, I mean, this is 10 years ago that we were getting down and dirty in a club. It's been
You and me?
long time.
Yeah, I think about it all the
But
time.
back then, when they had the videos up on the screen, like, I hope they're still doing that. And like, this video is epic.
Oh, I went into
Like
a
the
bar.
party vibe.
When
Oh
did
my
I go
gosh.
into a bar recently, a country bar? And I mean, in Alberta,
Did you
can
feel
be 18.
ancient?
Holy shit.
Did you feel like a senior?
I felt old as balls.
Like an 18-year-old now looks
Because an
like
18-year-old
infant
looks like a 14-year-old.
baby child. Yeah, it's so
And
weird.
I'm like, what are these kids doing in here? And then I remember thinking to myself, this is so freaking loud in here. All I want to do is visit with my friends,
That's
my
so
band members. And I'm
true.
like, this sucks.
Yeah, but it helped.
And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost 30. Like, I'm so old.
It had its time and place.
Yeah.
For sure.
Shout out to Oil City Roadhouse, which became
Yeah.
Knoxville's. Shout out to The Ranch. Shout out
Oh,
to Cook
good
County
times
Saloon.
were had. Many drinks were spilled.
Oh yeah, and
Some
shout out
bumping
to
and grinding.
I loved grinding. It's my favorite. Making out on the dance floor.
As he stares off into the distance.
Give me a minute here.
We're
2008.
on camera, babe.
Okay, so Drink
were
About
good times.
Me. Guys, it's so hard now to write new songs.
Yeah.
Everything's been written.
It's been done before.
Every chord progression has been written. Like literally 5 times a year, there's massive lawsuits from someone from the 60s being like, yeah, you're copying my song or my melody. But what was cool about Drink About Me is that everybody, when you're reminiscing about somebody, the saying is, do you think about me?
Yeah,
the way I
totally.
think about you.
Totally.
But Matt Rogers and Ben Stennis, the two songwriters, say, do you drink about me the way I drink about you? And if you drink about me, baby, when you do. I thought it was so great. That bridge was amazing. And
it's a beautiful melody.
it is.
Yeah,
At the
it's just very
Bluebird
pretty.
in Nashville last January, Matt Rogers was there. I was there. And I told him and made this proclamation in front of everybody that if you let me cut that song, Matt, because if I'm not going to cut it, like somebody way bigger, like Tim McGraw, like like it would have been a 5-week #1 for Tim McGraw. And again, Matt just believed in me enough to be like, yeah, you can have this song, which I'm really thankful for. But that track, I remember hearing him play it at the Bluebird, and I said, if you let me sing that song and record it, it will be my first single, which you know, and no one knows, but is a big no-no to commit to that without talking to your producer, your manager, your agent, your record label.
And how did that go over with your team? Was it well received?
It took a little bit of convincing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, everybody
believed in my passion. So.
And everyone believes in you. It's just no matter what part of a team you are, everybody has their strengths and everybody has their dream of how it should roll out. It doesn't mean we should ever be married to that and not have room to grow or change, but it just happens.
You know what? I have to give a shout out to a guy that I don't really know that well in the Canadian country music business, but a guy I deeply respect, and that's Dean Brody. And so Dean sent me a message on Instagram, and he said, dude, your new song sounds amazing.
That's so
and that
sweet.
Meant so much to me.
He actually,
he would say
when
that.
I send messages to him about like, you and your wife are sweet, or like on his stories or like stuff like that, he always replies. So it's I think nice. Like his fans are lucky to have him.
Yeah, well, we're lucky to have him. Yeah, Trail
Canadian
in Life is my
Canadian
favorite, and I think your favorite was Time.
Oh my gosh! Every time I bawl my eyes out, it's one of my all-time favorite songs of all time.
It's Dean, you're
a beauty.
You're so good. So we talked about Drink About Me. We talked about a few good stories. And I'll just say that a few good stories, what I loved about it is that this to me is exactly how I live my life. I'm going to put 1,000,000 miles on these cowboy boots, a real big dent in my revenue. And I literally sometimes, when I was an idiot, before we had any money.
When? No, just kidding.
I would.
You teed it up.
Brett, bus, under. Why do you throw me under the bus? Okay, so I'm not good with my finances. I overspend. I don't live within my means, but oh my God, do I ever party. So I love it. That's another topic for another time. That's a whole nother freaking podcast.
That's a big bite. Go ahead.
If I ain't done it all.
Any financial managers out there that are looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Continue.
Brett, bus, back up, just fucking run.
Oh no,
over.
just a little bit of
Okay, so a few good stories. If I ain't done it all, just means I ain't done it yet. When I look back, I don't want to have a single regret. That is exactly me to a T.
Right.
So I love this song.
And you're all about the story. Like you act like it's insane. Like to a point that it doesn't even serve you sometimes. You are about the story.
People are going to talk about it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Like just think about.
He loves stories.
Yeah, and Troy loves to tell this story. One of our best friends are Troy and Danielle from Edson, and Troy loves to tell this story of me at their wedding in Jamaica. All of the guys are at Rick's Cafe cliff jumping.
Yeah.
And all of the tourists can jump from this certain place, which is still like 30 feet high, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But there's a lineup. But I want to go where the locals are going, where you go to the taller cliff, which is like 60 feet in the air, and then you climb like a telephone pole.
Yeah, and what did they say to you? What did he literally say to you?
I can't use the accent. Be straight like a pencil, or you'll break your legs.
Or your arms.
Yeah, or your arms.
Like that's how high.
So I felt like I was 100 feet in the air.
And it's so funny because I was on that boat watching you, and you hesitated. You got to the edge, but you jumped. But you hesitated, and I thought, holy shit, that's high, because you never hesitate. And you're never like, heights have never freaked you out, but you were fucking high.
Yeah.
Like how many feet?
Not high on cannabis, just so you know. No, thank you.
How high up were you?
I had to been, I think about 100 feet.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. Not going to happen.
So
not interested.
A Few Good Stories is it's a song that is 100% about the way that I live my life.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Then we go to That's Country Music.
Oh, swoon.
What do you think about that one?
I am obsessed with this song. I am obsessed. And I'm so excited to hear what all of you will think. I love classic country music, and this totally fulfills that part of my soul. I'm so curious to hear what everybody has to say about it, because if you love classic country music, then you know that, you'll know that this sounds similar to that vibe. And there was a point where I felt like, is this a song already? Like I felt.
So it sounded familiar to you.
Very familiar.
Well, there's a lot of little things that I put into this track. At the very top, I wanted it to sound like this was a vinyl record, even if you're listening to this, on one of your streaming services. So Bart, my producer, what he did is he actually recorded his own vinyl record player. And before one of the songs kicked in, you just hear the white noise and that static, exactly.
Yes. Right
off the top.
Cool.
And then when I wrote this song with Karen Kozowski and Phil Barton, Phil had said something along the lines of, you just chit chat in the room for an hour before you get to writing. And he just said, well, that's country music. And I literally said, that's a song title. That's what we need to write today.
Which is funny because in your interview the other day, you were talking about how a personal pet peeve of yours is and like, we still love y'all if you do this, but the general population will be like, this microphone's black. There's a song in there. These are fluffy. There's a song in there.
Or like that's snow in the ditch. Oh, you could write a song about that. Like it just
and it just becomes comical. We just chuckle about it. It's really funny. Yeah. However, when songwriters say it,
we manifest that. We make it happen.
There is literally a song in there.
So Phil said, that's country music. And I said, that needs to be the title of the song that we write today. And then we just started writing down a list of the things that make up country music.
Yeah.
6-string, Tennessee whiskey, jukebox, neon, Saturday nights. So hold it. Neon lights, Saturday night. That works. In like 30 minutes. Actually, I believe most of the songs that I wrote on this record, I wrote in under an hour. So that's country music. Came together in a great way. And at the very end of the song where I say it's Cash, Dolly, Haggard, and Jones, that was actually the third verse. But I wanted to bring it home and tear on people's heartstrings. We had recorded it. We did the demo. We went for lunch. We came back from lunch. And I said, guys, we need something that's sad in this.
Yeah. And you can hear it. Like, I remember sitting on the beach in Florida with my headphones in and just being super emotional, actually. And just like listening to the lyrics, listening to the words, and just like really digging deep on those feelings and just like what country music is. Like, people sit and feel. You just sit and you feel. Like, that's the purpose.
Yeah.
If you feel,
I played this song, you had already gone to go get your makeup done for the red carpet for CCMAs. But when I had my Kissel communion, and everybody came over, we had a private event for our friends at radio, country radio. Everyone in the industry came and we had a party, and we called it Kissel Communion because it was a whiskey tasting and people got a chance to listen to the acoustic versions of some of my new songs. But this verse here, I almost got emotional recording this. Let's see if I can find it. Here. It reminds me the cowboy boots I got from Grandma and Grandpa. And I miss Flat Lake so much.
Grandpa Bear?
Yeah. That's Grandpa Bear.
It's a folded flag as you say goodbye. That's country music.
And I don't know why, but it's like
Did you do that
I know
just
it's
so you
weird.
Would cry, so I would cry.
It's weird to get emotional about your own music, but
I don't think that's
but
weird.
I was
think it's
in
beautiful.
such a, and I was so, I think, blue for the most part of 2019.
It was a hard year.
And country music pulled me through so many things. So that verse in particular,
I think a lot of people
says
will
everything.
connect to that feeling. I think,
says everything.
I think a lot of music is created and the purpose is to sometimes detach and check out.
Yeah.
But country music, in my opinion, the purpose of it is to make you feel
Something.
and to connect.
Yeah.
And that's super powerful.
That song, without question, is the one that I connect with the most on this album, and it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. And so, as I go down the track listing, "Drink About Me" is number 1, "A Few Good Stories" is number 2, and "That's Country Music" is number 3. I wanted something that was lively to go right after that, which is why "Young Enough" went right there. When we heard "Young Enough" for the first time, it could have gone on the "We Were That Song" album. But when it comes to satisfying everybody in the, in our process and in our team, the record label managers, everybody, "Young Enough" was not it was in consideration for the "We Were That Song" album, but it didn't have a high enough rating within the rating system that we have for
See,
it
I
to
don't
go on the
even
record.
remember it being.
Well, yeah, that song's like 4 years old.
I don't remember that at
Rusty pitched that to us.
Right.
And Will Weatherly wrote that with Jesse Alexander and who's the other songwriter? But we loved that then, and that's why you and I kind of used the power of veto with the team to say, no, that song needs to go on the record this time around because we've loved it for 4 years. Jesse Alexander, Will Weatherly, and David Hodge wrote that song, and it is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I think in a song I can give to my listeners and we can give to the younger generation or young people like
See,
us.
it's funny. For me, it's not about advice. For me, it's like, no matter your age, you are young enough.
It's a good perspective.
People, I'm too old for that, or I'm too this for that. It's like, when I listen to that song, I even picture myself at 70 and be like, God darn it, I'm still young enough.
Yeah.
Like, I'm young enough to do whatever the hell I want, however the hell I want.
Yeah. I you know me, sorry babe, I kicked
Okay.
your foot. You know how much I'm drawn to seniors and getting stories, and it's
There's
the
a
vibrant
weird obsession.
It's the vibrant party seniors that just knock me out, that I love the most.
The party seniors. Is that like, has anyone made that sentence ever in the history of time?
I don't
The
know.
party senior. What does a party senior look like?
A senior that's ready to
To
party.
I have yet
And
to
ready
meet
to throw
one.
down. What are you talking about?
A senior citizen ready to party.
Mr. and Mrs. Dawson.
Yeah, okay.
They would always they threw great parties.
Okay.
Yeah, the Emeralds played in
Yeah.
the background, and they had all their friends, that grew up in the 50s and the 60s have this big old dance, but they would never turn down a drink. Like Mima.
Okay.
Mima still has a drink.
Yeah,
So
I guess
Grandpa
it's just
Bear
when I think of
washes
the word
heart
party, I
all
think
the
of
time.
that club with the screen and the grinding.
No,
So
I think about
I've never
Mima-
seen a senior citizen at a club with a screen.
I think about Mima playing
grinding.
cards with us at 1:30 in the morning while you
I think your
and
definition
me-
of party has changed, but I can get on board
Okay,
with that.
yes. So you are all about, you can,
I almost want to see a senior
Yeah.
citizen in a club grinding now.
yeah. Do you though?
Oh, I take it back.
Okay, so Young Enough, we talked a lot about Young Enough because it was really an emphasis song, or song that we have a lot of emphasis on for the title of the record, for Now or Never.
And I mean, traditionally, I think often what had happened for you is that we were taking title tracks, essentially. So like
That's right.
using the track, our favorite songs as the title for the album. Yeah. So this is the first time we're kind of doing something different, but we're really excited to put all of our eggs in this basket.
So all in all, Young Enough, and as we've got to do 2 parts with this.
Absolutely.
I didn't think that we were going to, but this has actually been so much fun.
I knew.
Of course you know.
I know everything.
Okay. So Young Enough, we're going to end side A of the record.
So apparently we had way more to say about the album than you thought. So we're going to split this up.
So thank you very much for listening to our Keeping It Kissel podcast. When we're talking about the record Now or Never, you heard part 1. You heard why we called it what we called it in the first 4 songs. We're going to get into the nitty gritty on the next 4 songs and some really cool behind the scenes stuff with the making of our record. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, please. Cecilia Kissel.
Keeping It Kissel.
Brett Kissel. Yeah, Keeping It Kissel. And me, Brett Kissel. And check out our website.
Subscribe to our website and to our
keepingitkissel.com.
YouTube page. Yeah. Super exciting.
How do we sign off? Shit,
Thanks,
we need it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for tuning in,
Yeah.
guys.
It'll come up. It'll come to us.
My God, this is so bad.
It ain't no secret. The secret to this smile, it ain't complicated. In fact, it's easy to describe the perfect start to the perfect day. I could say it in a couple words. This morning, having coffee with her.